Senator Seselja.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Communications, representing the Minister for Social Services, Senator Fifield. Will the Minister inform the Senate of the impact of the National Rental Affordability Scheme on housing affordability?
The Minister for Communications and the Arts, representing the Minister for Social Services, Senator Fifield.
Thanks, Mr President. If I can thank my good friend Senator Sheshelya for his question. He's been neglecting me for a while. Mr President, I think everyone here knows that NRAS was one of those flagship Labor programs, in this case designed to improve rental affordability. From the beginning of the RGR government's scheme, it was poorly designed. It had multiple flaws, ambiguous legal requirements and red tape. The scheme has been slow in delivery, which isn't good. It's failed to meet its delivery targets despite ongoing funding. And the Audit Office released a report on the NRAS on the 18th of November, and that found that from the commencement of NRAS in 2008, the delivery of eligible dwellings has been slower than anticipated. Not good. Also found that no processes had been put in place to monitor or evaluate whether the scheme had encouraged large-scale investment in affordable housing, no way of monitoring whether there was innovative design of affordable housing, or whether NRAS had any flow-on effect into the housing market. Again, not good. And it also found that administration of the application and assessment process and management of reserved allocations for NRAS had not been effective. Again, not good. Mr President, like many other programs of our colleagues across the way, such as the NBN, I just randomly cite an instance. Don't tempt me. The groundwork hadn't been put in. The basic planning to ensure competent delivery hadn't been put in. And Ms Plebiscite cites NRAS as one of the greatest achievements of the former government. They have some odd benchmarks opposite, Mr President.
Thank you, Minister. Order on my left. Senator Lyons, Senator Seselja and Senator Cormann.
Thank you, Mr President. Will the Minister inform the Senate why the NRAS scheme failed to achieve its original aims in its original form?
Minister.
Thanks, Mr President. The Audit Office report identifies that the scheme was launched by then Minister Plebiscite and then Treasurer Swan before the legislation and regulations supporting the operation of the scheme had been put in place, just a fact. The Audit Office report identified a range of adverse findings against the administration of the scheme: slow delivery of dwellings, as I've mentioned, no evaluation of the scheme's objectives, administration that did not fully accord with NRAS regulations, again, not good, and poor record keeping to substantiate past decision making. Mr President, I know on this side we get a little use at times to examples of poor Labor policy design. Regrettably, this is another such example.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Seselja, final supplementary question.
Thank you. What is the government doing to fix those problems with the National Rental Affordability Scheme?
Order on my left. On my left. Order. On my left. Order. Minister.
Mr President, the government did take a decision in the context of the 14-15 budget not to proceed with the final round of the NRAS and also to cap the scheme at 38,000 dwellings. The government does remain committed to improving the administration of the scheme for the incentives already allocated. Amendments to the legislation have been introduced to improve the rate of dwelling delivery, as well as simplify and streamline a number of aspects of the scheme. Despite the scheme, Mr President, the proportion of low-income households in rental stress increased from 35.4% in 2007-8 to 42.5% in 2013-14, their ABS figures. So the scheme did not achieve the desired outcome. It was poorly designed, poorly administered, and this government is setting about trying to make that right.